Good morning, everyone. Welcome on this Pentecost Sunday. And to all of you in your Pentecostal red, Connie and Sue and Karen and Gail and Hank. We will begin in just a second. And my watch band. Good morning. How are y'all? So good morning once again, and welcome to Sayville Congregational United Church of Christ, where we like to say you are welcome long before you arrive. And wherever you are on your spiritual journey, you are with us as we are with you. If you will look at the, bless you, oh, it's a good one. If you will look at the front of your bulletin, so here's how things happen sometimes. You see it says May 9th, 2019. Well, it's not. It's June 9th. And then you see where the meditation says it's June. Well, actually, that poem begins with May. And so I changed May by Mary Oliver to June because I wanted to use the poem, and I figured it would fit with June. But then somehow I managed to change the month to May. So I think that's Mary Oliver saying, do not mess with my writing. But I hope you will take a moment to read the meditation. It is beautiful, and I think it fits our time and our presence together. And so welcome as we go into worship. Let's take a minute and leave that world outside that will be there when we go. And as a result of being here this morning, I think will be much better for us and those we encounter when we do leave here this morning. And with that, let the bell ring.
Please rise in body or spirit and join me in the call to worship. Spirit of the living God, your presence is in us in ways yet to be revealed. We are open to your voice and ready to speak it. Fall afresh on us today and every day. Amen. Please join me in the unison prayer. On the wings of love blows a wind where it chooses. We hear its sounds mostly, but we don't know where it comes or where it goes. It is this wind, the coming and going, here and everywhere, that we meet our present and mysterious God together. On the wings of love, our wings.
There are wings of love. Do you see yours? See them? And there are some pretty sturdy wings that have carried us through all sorts of times together. And today we're, in a few minutes, going to remember wings that have flapped for 50 years plus now. Between Jeannie and Jeff, happy 50th anniversary. And we will invite you up in a couple of minutes, so you're not totally surprised. But as we share peace with one another, it'll give you an opportunity to also congratulate Jeff and Jeannie if you get that far in our group. And in the peace that we share today, Let our wings lift up the love that is in us in the way that we extend the peace that Jesus says, I give you my peace, not the peace of the world, not that quiet, that calm, but the peace of the sages and the ages and the eternity long before we knew or will ever know what that is. So may the peace of the risen Christ be with you all. And from deep in that eternity of yours, let us share the peace with one another. Okay, boys and girls, we'll have plenty of time during recess.
Today's reading is from the book of Acts, chapter 2. When the feast of Pentecost came, they were all together in one place. Without warning, there was a sound like a strong wind, gale force. No one could tell where it came from. It filled the whole building. Then, like a wildfire, the Holy Spirit spread through their ranks, and they started speaking in a number of different languages, as the Spirit prompted them. There were many Jews staying in Jerusalem just then, devout pilgrims from all over the world. When they heard the sound, they came on the run. Then, when they heard one after another their own mother tongues being spoken, they were thunderstruck. They couldn't, for the life of them, figure out what was going on, and kept saying, "Aren't these all Galileans? How come we're hearing them talk in our various mother tongues?" Parthians, Medes, Elamites, visitors from Macedonia, Judea, Cappadocia, Pontus, and Asia, Phrygia, and Pamphylia, Egypt, and the parts of Libya belonging to Cyrene, immigrants from Rome, both Jews and proselytes, even Cretans and Arabs. They're speaking our language, describing God's mighty works. Their heads were spinning. They couldn't make heads or tails of any of it. They talked back and forth, confused. What's going on here? Others joked. They're drunk on cheap wine. Peter speaks up. That's when Peter stood up and, backed by other 11, spoke out with bold urgency. "Fellow Jews, all of you are visiting Jerusalem. Listen carefully and get this story straight. These people aren't drunk, as some of you suspect. They haven't had time to get drunk. It's only 9 o'clock in the morning. This is what the prophet Joel announced would happen. In the last days, God said, I will pour out my spirit on every kind of people. Your children will prophesy. Your young people will see visions. Your old people dream dreams. When the time comes, I'll pour out my spirit on those who serve me, all who serve me, and they'll prophesy. I'll set wonders in the sky above and signs on the earth below. Blood and fire are billowing smoke, and sun turning black and the moon blood red. Before the day arrives, the day tremendous and marvelous, and whoever calls out for help to me, God will be saved."
So before we begin this morning with this time prior to the provocation, how many people here this last week have had an anniversary? We have some anniversaries. Jimmy, Jimmy shared that he graduated from high school half a century ago. If you noticed a little trepidation in my, calling on Jimmy, it has to do with that, Jimmy, with the Regents diploma. Anyone else? Gail and Ted, your 4th wedding anniversary. Right here. Happy anniversary. Yes. And are there others? Now, I know there were some birthdays this week. Mark, happy birthday, Mark. 29, 20. Actually, this was your 60th birthday. Happy anniversary. And Joseph. Oh, he just scrunched his 27. Joe Sanchez, I don't know how many years, but you want to tell us? No. But happy birthday to Joseph, and to you too. Is there anyone else? See, this is like the pastoral tripwire here. If we want to recognize, but we want to make sure we recognize everybody when we bring folks forward to celebrate special days. And it's a nice thing to do. We don't often do it, but we do post all of these things in e-chimes, all of the days to remember and celebrations. So if you don't get e-chimes and you would like it, and you also at home as well, just send us an email. And what I would like to do is I'd like to ask all of Jeannie and Jeff's clan, including them, please, would you come up? Would you bring your progeny and family with you? And while they're coming here, I have had a little bit over 2 years, almost 2.5 years with you, which has been a blessing. And I continue to be very grateful for the opportunity to serve you and to be in a place of so much love with you. And I have known this family, not all of the members, but certainly Jeannie and Jeff and Laura and Jeff and Matthew and Abigail and Chris, and so grateful for all that you do and have done for us, but for this family of yours that touches so many people in so many ways. And I think that's the message we have here to share. That we come together to remember who we are and how we touch others. And would you, somebody do me a favor, just introduce everybody to everybody so that we all know?
Okay, this is my sister-in-law Marie, who's more like a sister. Laura, my daughter. That's JJ being held, and that's, we call him Big Jeff. He's 6'9", so we have 4 Jeffs in the family. So, and then my grandson Chris, and my grandson Matthew, my daughter Diane, her husband Chris, my husband Jeff, and my brother-in-law John. Oh, Abigail. Went right over you, Ab.
And Abigail's going to do me a favor, right? Come here, Abigail. There they are. You tell them for all of us. This is another thing, giving Abigail the mic. You never know. You want to just tell them, like, happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
To Grandma and Grandpa, right?
I just want to say that we started here. I put a picture up over in the vestry of an angle from here of us getting married 50 years ago, right here on this altar. And when I think about, little did Jeff and I ever think we would have such a wonderful family, an extended family, and everything like that. We feel truly blessed to have come this journey together.
And also to be part of the extended family, the church family. You guys are great, and thank you for all your support over the years.
Let no one say we have no generations here. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And Bernie is going to take everyone off to church school. You can check out now. Thank you, everybody. And congratulations again to all. So in Hebrews chapter 4, verse 12, the author says, "For the word of God is living and active." Conversations with God is maybe not the best description. I don't hear God's voice directly, but I do think the Word of God, as we know God, is living and active. And I do at times wander into conversations. Quote. And recently there I was. It was a beautiful June morning. The blue skies, the gentle Great South Bay. It was warm up on the top deck of the ferry going from Sayville across that bay. And it was early. It was a little after 8 a.m. It was one of those mornings that I had forgotten the immortal words of the 59th Street song. You know them. Slow down, you move too fast. You got to make the morning last. I forgot all that. I sort of rushed to get to the dock. I was up and out of bed. I was showered and dressed. I emptied the dishwasher. I began a laundry. I fed and played with the cat, and out the door. And as the ferry pulled away from the dock, moving slowly through the jetty, picking up speed as it entered the waterways of the bay, I took one of those first breaths. You know those breaths? The one you take when all the prep is done and the trip has finally begun, and you go, whew. I turned my cap around, I know. I turned it around so it wouldn't blow off of the boat. I settled into the warming sun, and then I remembered, whoops, no prayer, no journal, no meditation, not a thought about God or gratitude or anything other than getting on my way. I go through periods like that. My routine shifts from being fairly disciplined and getting up early, settling into a time of reading, a little bit of writing, prayer, meditation, and sometimes I do that for many, many days, even months. But over the years, you know, I've experimented even with different regimens, getting up really early. I know there are some people up here up at 4 a.m. I don't know why. But I know there are, and I have some friends that say that's the best time to get up in the morning and to pray and read and write, and a couple of times I've done it, and it's wonderful. It really is wonderful. It borders on liminality, that Lyman, you feel almost like you're a little closer to whatever the next world is or the other dimension. It's wonderful, but I've never really been someone who follows a set schedule, which I find interesting because when I have to, I have. And for 18 years, I taught school for 10 months a year, 7 shows a day, 44 minutes at a time, broken up by bells, and when it was all over, wondered, how did I do that? And I did it because I really loved doing it, and that was why. But I've never really followed a typical schedule. In fact, for almost a year, you've heard me talk about it. I was writing answers to a series of 3 questions every day. I wrote daily little meditation snippets for over 100 days. I read the Bible and other books, and it's all been good. And then a bunch of days go by where I'm across that 59th Street Bridge before I even know I was on that bridge. The sort of erratic pattern for me in this way really used to give me a lot of agita, a lot of aggravation. I kept wondering, when am I going to get this right? Why can't I just do this every day? When am I going to fall in line? You know, go to bed at the same time every night, eat 3 meals a day, get out and go for a walk, drink 8 glasses of water, 2 cups of coffee, no more, no colas, certainly sweetened or otherwise, and no snacks before bed, definitely no pizza with pepperoni and hot peppers, and up early in prayer, thinking of God and praying and gratitude and peace and love and joy and love all day long. No. And yet maybe maybe in becoming who we are, we discover more and more just how personal a journey this really is. Corporally and communally, absolutely, together, as we evidenced here and as we are right now. But it's very personal in all ways. And allowing me to be who I am to be in the way I be has moved me in some very interesting ways that might never have known before had I abided simply by regimen. And so on the ferry, that morning when suddenly I went, oops, and instead of saying, it did it again, you forgot. See? I just said, good morning. And sometimes when I do that, whether it's early in the morning or in the middle of the day or on a car ride or even as I wander into bed at night, I'm not quite falling asleep, what comes out in my thinking is, could we talk for a while? And this conversation between God, as I know God, and me begins. Now, I have never heard God say, no, we can't talk. And truthfully, I've never really heard God's voice, except through you and others. And the talk can be many things. It could be a time where I'm just in conversation talking about the prayers I have for others. Because we are a praying congregation and we are people who pray and we know prayer works. If only that for that time it puts us in the midst of that activity and that relationship to God, which is always a good thing. And then somehow, some way, touches others. Sometimes it's just an expression of my own, something that's on my mind, something I'm trying to work out. It's asking for help. And usually it's this way, God, whatever's your will, just give me the power to carry it out, whatever it is. And then usually it ends with saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. That story I love to tell about the person who God comes to the gates in the morning with the emails and with the archangel there and says, okay, what did we get last night? And first email is somebody's praying for a new garage because their car is getting wet. And God says, yeah, what's next? Somebody else is praying to win the lottery. Yeah, what's next? And then Peter goes into a pause and God says, what's the matter? He says, well, I got an email from somebody here down in Sayville. All they're doing is saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And God says, give them whatever they want. So this thank you part is important. For some reason, probably having to do with the preparation for today and Pentecost, I found myself asking or wondering what my real name is. Now, I know what my given name is, so don't get nervous. I do. I know what my given name is, but I was wondering, what was my name before I ended up here in this form and in this place? And what will my name be after I leave this plane and this place? Now, a question like that for me is not necessarily to make sure you have my proper name and proper forwarding address for that time. But it is to go a little more deeply into the mystery and the wonder of this form and this spirit and life on this plane. Where to come from? Where am I going to? What am I doing while I'm here? And what I heard, in the way that you hear your thoughts, was, your name is Star. All my children's name is Star. Okay, 2 cups of coffee. Good idea. Too much that morning. Maybe. And so I let it keep going. And on a clear and moonless night, looking up at the sky and seeing all of the stars and thinking of each one of us as the beauty and the light of the night sky, part of the galaxies and the universe and beyond, it reminded me of how often many look to the sky, to the stars, for a sign of God. And maybe there's a reason for that. And what if there was a beach? I know where there's a couple you can go to. What if there was a beach filled with hundreds of people from all over going about in a party or a celebration they all came to or had parties next to one another of their own, and suddenly they all looked up and they could see the Milky Way in this moonless night, this beautiful darkened night without any light pollution, spiraling above them in all of its glory. Would they all go, wow, oh, amazing, wonderful? And if they did so, all in their own languages, and when we look down to glance at one another to go, wouldn't we all know the beauty we were looking at? The message of that night, regardless of the language we were speaking, the places we had come from, or the destinations to which we were bound? Would the stars be the sign of our ties that unbind us into shared glory? Would that be a Pentecost? Is it really so strange to think that a group of people could suddenly be captured by a group awareness of some kind, triggered by a moment of belief or something that seemed to move the group like the wave, the human wave in a stadium? I don't think so. And all those folks on the way to the beach that night, boy, they were probably, before they looked up, they were probably talking about everything we talk about families, about news, about politics, about arguments and relationships and bias and promise and arguing, agreeing, even bickering. And all of them got caught off guard by the wonder that night that reminds us we are all connected at some conversational level deep inside with God, with Creator, with Star Maker. Created and connected in a way that diminishes that which we practice that causes us to diminish ourselves. It happens, I think. It happens like it happened to the group of people gathered in this story, to tell the story of what happens when this happens. And when the fire of awareness comes, when the change of heart comes to a group who otherwise might see themselves as different and apart, a new day is at hand, a new beginning, a new movement, not just an event, has begun. For me, and maybe for you, there's no question we are in a time of overload. But I don't think for long. Maybe this is a little too optimistic, but I think we are learning how to carry this load. Something we haven't had to do before in quite this way. We're learning how to curate things that we never even thought of curating before. Separating information in new and different ways, sometimes stunning, hard to process things. It's difficult. It's hard. And I think we are deep into conversations that need to be had, and we're having them. Questions like, what is truth? The same question Pilate asked Jesus. I think we're in a process where the gathering of people and ideas has started to ignite a fire of hope and change, a renewal and identity in ways barely imaginable even for the greatest of sci-fi and fiction writers, futurists, theologians, and anybody. And I also think we will not see it all unfold. because it takes time. But I wonder if we break with regimen somewhat and enter into those conversations with all that is around us in that wonder of that night, if we unlimit God from the definitions many of us wish to use, insisting we follow God in a particular way so that control can better be managed over us for the advantages of the few. If we step away and remember in some figurative way that we are star, even if other people say, you must be drunk to think like that. We step away and remember maybe that we are star, a collective proper name of our power, and the command we've been given from the one who first called us by such a name. If this collective and growing awareness of how we are loved and called to love catches fire, then maybe we will see the Pentecost. Maybe we will see what I believe is upon us now and be lifted up in a way to take hold of that message and to share it with those who've been trodden on too long, and to let those who can't follow right now sit and watch or complain or chide us and not worry about bringing them along and making sure that we keep going along. They will come, perhaps, but they can't hold us back. Because, see, that's the thing about fire. Once it's lit, it carries us forward, and it lights the way. Just like it did back in that room, where they all were gathered on that night of the story that is told, to tell the story of how such things happen. It's happening again, I believe, and may it be so. Amen.
Now we invite you to enter into a time of prayer and to share your joys and concerns. We also invite you to write your joys and concerns on one of the prayer cards. You will find the pew and place them in the collection basket during the offering. May we hear your joys and concerns?
Prayers for all of the participants, including Thomas Moust, in the State Special Olympic Games at Marist College in Poughkeepsie next weekend.
Prayers for our daughter Diane, who is going to extensive surgery on Thursday for her back.
Just want to say thank you to all of you for the birthday well wishes and everything, all the gift cards and everything you guys do for us. We really appreciate and love you all very much. Thank you.
I pray that all those in uniform serving in Southwest Asia and along our southern border do so safely.
Prayers for Dr. Scott Warren, humanitarian aid worker in Arizona, and his jury as they continue deliberation and hopefully come to a just decision tomorrow.
A heartfelt thank you and a goodbye as I leave to assume my new life in South Carolina and look for a church as special as this, which I have not found.
Prayers for our daughter-in-law, Laura, Addison's mom, who begins 25 radiation treatments tomorrow. Prayers of gratitude for the life of our dear friend, Neil Alice, and part of our extended family, who was quite literally run over by a bus, a truck, 3 weeks ago, and he lived, which is remarkable. He'll be in rehab for another 6 weeks, but all is going well. So with great gratitude.
And so with these prayers and those in our hearts, those yet to be spoken, those that we hold in that private, personal way, in the conversations we have with God, let us add to that the prayer in the way that you were taught. Say,
Thank you for your generosity in helping us to share God's love for all. We are grateful for all the ways you participate in the work of this ministry. And more than anything, we are most grateful that you are here. We welcome your offerings at this time and invite you to place your prayer and information cards in the basket.
have a couple of brief announcements. First, please see Sue. Sue, where are you? Did she go? Oh, there she is in the back. So that you can sign up as Jeff did today, stepping up to lead as our liturgist. Thank you, Jeff. And so you can follow in Jeff's footpath. Let him set a fire for you. And Connie. Oh, sorry.
You remember Amy McGrath, who directed Emmanuel. Her vocal students, her seniors, are having a recital next Saturday here at 3 o'clock. It's going to be a lot of fun, and she's very excited about these students, one of whom is Mary, Kristen, who sang Mary in Emmanuel. So 3 o'clock Saturday, please come, and there's food after.
Thank you, Connie. And I want to thank everybody who contributes to make our time together the time that it is with one another. And all you see around the sanctuary and the way that the slides are run, the music, the choir, the flowers, and so much more. Thank you to all of you. And a special comment just to remember Carl Hasselreese, who continues to be at home working through a lot of medical issues. Our friends Sal and Brian and Winsong, who are still trying to figure out where it is that they will move and how they will get there when that time. For my friends Jamie and Kim and their nephew who they care for, Chris, who's dealing with ongoing challenges with leukemia. And for all of those who, again, we pray for, remember them this day and how our prayers do indeed touch them. In 2006 at Fourth Presbyterian Church in Chicago, which is an amazing church. It's a cavernous church right across from the lake, Lake Michigan. And one of my memories there is how they opened this church to people during the winter, all sorts of people during the year, living in all sorts of conditions. And they're open a great number of hours during the day. And anyone can come and go. They have to have people there to help them when needed, but it's a good place if you're ever there. And in 2006, the theologian Walter Brueggemann was offering a Pentecost Sunday blessing. And he reminded everybody that the Spirit, the breath of God, animates and energizes all life. And that it blows like a wind in the world and in our personal lives across all of the elements we know and more. The good news, he said, is that the wind of God is blowing. It may come as a breeze and warm you. It may come as a sudden gust and ruffle you. It may be a storm that blows you to a new place. Whatever it is, pay attention. May we pay attention. And may the peace of the risen Christ be with you this week. Go in those blessings with God and others in your heart.
Why are there so many songs about rainbows? And what's on the other side? Is this the sweet sound that calls